Hi everybody, welcome back to Miss Henley's Porch. I sure hope you're enjoying this book. I would love to know your thoughts, so if you're watching this virtual book club on TikTok, just leave me a comment and let me know what you're thinking, questions that you have, any predictions you want to make. And if you're watching it on YouTube, just send the questions or your predictions to me via the email at positivepowernation@gmail.com. I would really love to hear what you guys are thinking. So yesterday I read the first part of chapter 12 because it's a real long one. Vola did give her three things that she wants from him, right? She said on 3 conditions. The first one was that he writes a letter to his grandfather so his grandfather knows that he's safe and he doesn't come looking for him. The second one was she wanted to know the story behind the bracelet. And the third one was that she said that she needed his assistance, his help in something, but she was not very forthcoming in what that was. We left off where he was getting ready to eat the peaches. I don't know if you remember. And then he opened it and there was a stick in the peaches. And I kind of stopped there. So let's just dive right in because I'm anxious to know what's going to happen. Vola reached into the jar, popped the stick into her mouth, sucked the syrup off, pitched the stick over her shoulder into the sink, and rolled her eyes. Lord, it's cinnamon. Eat. She gathered the bread he'd cut with a curt nod of approval. Cheddar or Swiss? Cheddar, I guess. Vola straightened. You guess, boy? You don't know? Peter shrugged and speared a peach chunk. It tasted as bright and golden as it looked. Vola seemed to be working up a whole lot more to say about the cheese issue, but then she pressed her lips together, spun around on the point of her wooden leg, and clumped out the back door. She came back in with a slab of cheese a moment later, then set to work wordlessly making sandwiches. Peter heard them sizzle as she pressed them into the hot skillet. He surveyed the cabin. It wasn't big, but it didn't feel cramped either. Sunlight flooded in through the clean windows, washing the log walls in a honey glow. 2 blue striped armchairs flanked a stone fireplace, and a trunk stacked with books served as a table between them. Small barrels held lanterns, and more hung from the beams. So you should have, we talked about in class, those of you that had me in class, the importance of visualizing, right? So that paragraph right there is pretty powerful in creating what the inside of her cabin looks like and feels like. It feels cozy. Anyway, that's my opinion. I feel like it's quaint and cozy. There were photos on the mantel, a few paintings on the walls, and a basket of yarn beside the armchair. Through an open door by the fireplace, Peter saw the corner of a bed, neatly made with a yellow checked quilt. It was a surprisingly normal home for a crazy person, yet something was missing. Peter noticed then how quiet it was. Silent, actually, except for the bird calls outside and the butter sputtering in the skillet. But that wasn't it. Not exactly. Hey, he said as it dawned on him, you don't have electricity. The woman flipped the sandwiches. As far as I know, that's not a crime in this country. Not yet, anyway. Peter tried to think about what he would miss without electricity, but there were too many things to count. He chased out the last bit of peach, the fork rattling against the empty jar. Vola's back was still turned to him, so he lifted the jar to drain the last drop of syrup. But wait, how'd you get the ice? I've got a refrigerator out on the porch. It's gas. So's the stove and the water heater. I've got everything I need. She set 2 blue plates down on the table. Peter's mouth watered at the smell of food, but he waited. Vola wasn't finished, he sensed. I have more than everything I need, Vola sat. I have peace here. Because it's so quiet? No, because I am exactly where I should be, doing exactly what I should be doing. That is, peace. Eat. Peter bit into his sandwich. The cheese was hot and runny all the way through. The bread fried crisp and brown. He broke off a corner out of force of habit and was about to reach down with it when he remembered. You know what he was going to do with that? He was going to feed. That's right, Pax. But he remembered there was no fox under the table. He wondered if Pax was missing him as much as he missed his fox right now. Don't you get lonely out here? I see people. B. Booker, the librarian. Robert Johnson, the bus driver. I see people. She got up, brought the frying pan over, and slid another sandwich onto his plate. Eat. Peter ate, thinking about what she had said about peace. When he finished, he licked the buttery crumbs from his fingers. What do you mean you're doing exactly what you should be doing? Do you work? Of course I work. The garden is half an acre and half the orchard is twice the size. I am planting beans and okra today. Maybe get to replacing the seal on the well pump. There's always plenty to do here. But you don't go to a job? Make any money? How do you buy things? Like all those tools in the barn, like he waved around the cabin. All your stuff. Vola hoisted herself onto the counter and then held out her wooden leg and wrapped it with a spatula. My country pays me a little blood money every month in exchange for my leg, which means that she lost her leg. I'm guessing she was in the military, right? And so she gets payment for being disabled. She dropped the spatula into the sink and shook her head. A diable man deal. Turns out my leg wasn't all that valuable to them. Wish they told me that before they sent me scouting into a minefield, because I liked my leg. It was a good leg. Not much to look at maybe, but it worked fine. It ran me clear into the next town when Deirdre Callahan and I set fire to her father's woodshed in 6th grade, and it kicked a smile off Henry Valentine's face when he tried to grab my butt the next year. I could go on. A leg is a very big price to pay. Every day, every single day, I wish I had it back. The woman stuck her leg out again and tugged up her cuff to assess the wooden post. Oh, they gave me a prosthetic, a complicated piece of work. Scared the devil out of me whenever I looked down. So I made my own. It's heavy and it's clumsy, but I did some terrible things in the war. I figure I deserve to drag something around. You threw it away? A prosthetic leg? You just threw it away? Peter couldn't help imagining the shocked look on some garbage collector's face. Of course not. I wear it, sometimes. Right now it's in the garden on the scarecrow. Scares the devil out of the crows, too, apparently. So that's funny. The leg is in the garden on a scarecrow. She dropped off the counter and jammed a battered straw hat onto her head as if she'd suddenly remembered this garden of hers. I'll be back before dark. The outhouse is just beyond the 2 cedars and there's a tub in the kitchen. Clean up. The porch is yours. Actually, you'll have to share it with Francois. Keep that leg elevated. Who's Francois? Again, Vola's short bark of a laugh startled Peter. She tipped her head toward the back door, which led out to a screened porch. He's probably out there napping right now, lazy old thief. She crossed the door and looked out and then nodded. Come see. Peter levered himself off the chair and onto the crutches. Vola held the door open and waved toward a wooden bin. Peter saw a pair of dark ringed eyes peering out at him. He cocked his head to get a better view, and the raccoon cocked his head back. Francois Villon, named after one of the most famous thieves in history. The original was a poet as well as a thief, and such a charmer that every time they arrested him, some admirer pardoned him. Peter grinned. He crouched to get a better look. Hey, Chuck, 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 he called softly, the way he always greeted Pax in the morning. The raccoon eyed him lazily for another moment. Then seemed to decide he wasn't interesting and flopped over and closed his eyes. Is he wild or tame? Vola waved the words off as if they were gnats. I leave the porch door open. He visits when he wants to, and he's fine company. I feed him, but I don't have to. He stays fat enough on his own. We've come to a little agreement about the chicken coop. He leaves the girls alone, and I scramble him up an egg now and then. He's a companion. That's the best word. She pointed to a beam spanning the ceiling. Tomorrow you can do some pull-ups, but today, stay off the leg and keep it elevated. Above your heart is best. She nodded to the refrigerator. Keep icing it on and off. I want that swelling down so I can set the bone tonight. Mix a spoonful of willow bark in water every few hours for pain. Peter nodded and then dropped into a hammock, hanging from the beams, exhausted. Vola started to leave, but paused in the doorway and turned around to study him. She crossed her arms over her chest, an unreadable expression on her face. What? Just wondering, she said. You're staying out here on the porch. What do you suppose that makes you? Wild or tame? And so that is the end of chapter 12. Interesting, she's got herself a companion too. It's a raccoon. So I think she kind of understands his thoughts and his feelings and his plan to try to find Pax. I think she really does understand that. And she asks him, you're out on the porch. Are you wild or tame? That's really the essence of this, right? That we're really talking about, like Pax is a tame fox, right? And how he survives out in the wild. Same thing here with this raccoon. It's so interesting. Animals are so interesting. They do, certain animals do have some pretty cool interactions with humans. And this raccoon seems to know that he's not supposed to go near the chicken coop. And if he doesn't go near the chicken coop, then she'll feed him eggs. And they have a good little friendship going there. She doesn't have any electricity, and she's out there by herself. She's looking for peace. She said something interesting. I don't know if you picked up on it. I did. She said that she had done some bad things in war, and so she deserves to drag this wooden leg around. It's almost like her punishment for herself. What are your thoughts on that? Have you noticed anything? Let me know, either in the comments or through the email at positivepowernation@gmail.com. I hope you're all having an incredible summer. It's already the end of July. School will be starting soon, and I'll get to see all your faces again, for those of you that go to Anastasia School. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday. Bye.